Hey guys, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I've experienced New Year's Eve in both the West and in China, and I thought I would talk about how each of them is different. The fun thing is that I actually celebrate both, which makes me one of the lucky ones. But people often ask me which one's better. And it's hard for me to answer because it's hard to be objective. But in this video, I want to break down the differences between Western New Year's Eve and Chinese New Year's Eve. And then at the end, we will decide which one's better.
Let me know how you're spending New Year's Eve, what's your favorite part of it, what's your least favorite part of it, and more importantly, tell me what would you like to see me make a video on next.
Here we go.
Parties. So even when I'm in China, I get to celebrate both Western New Year's and Chinese New Year's. I just celebrate them differently. And the best way to tell the difference is that with Western New Year's, you spend it with friends, whereas Chinese New Year's, you spend it with family. So you're talking about two different types of parties. Oh, and some fun stats for you. New Year's Eve is the fourth favorite holiday of Americans after Thanksgiving, Christmas, and July 4th, Independence Day. And 44% of Americans expect to kiss somebody at midnight. So in the West, it's a huge celebration with 1 million people packed into Times Square to watch the ball drop and do the countdown, no matter how cold it is. Everything is leading up to that one moment at midnight when the new year rolls in. That's where all the anticipation is. And if you miss it, if you're in the bathroom, well, no. So what I love about Western New Year's is that it's really fancy and everybody gets dressed up. In cities, people go out to clubs and dance the night away, but everything is so expensive, restaurants are all prefixed. It's so hard to even make a reservation. But it's a fun night of popping champagne, watching the ball drop, and it's the one night of the year where the whole world, entire world, is unified in one moment. I spent New Year's Eve in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, New York, Bali, Bangkok, Rio. I mean, wherever you are in the world, all you need to do is turn on the TV and see presidents making speeches, fireworks going off, and everybody's counting down to that one moment. And it's a time of hope and excitement. Even though I'm in China, I still love celebrating Western New Year's. Last year I did it in Hong Kong, and a few years ago, I hosted a countdown party in Beijing. Fun story with my etiquette students. I was teaching in class, we were talking about Kwa Nian, you know, December 31st, and I asked them if they had plans, and none of them had plans. And I realized actually most local Chinese don't go out of their way to make plans on December 31st. The younger generations, yes, maybe, but most people don't. So I was like, oh, let me host a party. I'll host a dinner and a countdown party. And they said, oh yes, please do that. We'll come, we'd love to come. I said, okay, so I'm expecting all your husbands, right? I need to organize. And they said, oh, no. I was like, wait, but it's countdown, it's New Year's Eve. You're not gonna wanna spend it with your loved ones? And in unison, they were like, oh, no. We'll have more fun without them. And that's when I realized in China, there's a saying called 各玩各, which each plays his own. And it's quite rare that you'll see couples come together to attend dinners or parties. Very different from the West, where couples, you know, if you invite one person, you automatically expect them to bring a +1. So in the West, you spend Christmas with family and then New Year's with your friends, and New Year's Eve definitely with your lover so that you can do countdown together and kiss at midnight. In fact, there's a lot of expectation around New Year's that it has to be the best and biggest night of the year. In my younger experience, i.e. my college and fresh grad days, finding that countdown party to go to was actually a lot of pressure and created so much expectation that it would inevitably fall flat. Now, in my older days, I'm all about spending New Year's Eve or countdown in a confined area, cozy, preferably. You go with your friends, you're there the whole time with your friends. It's much better. You're just surrounded by people you like. Last year, I did that in Hong Kong. There were about 60 of us, and we spent it at the Rosewood Hotel in Hong Kong. All of us stayed, everybody stayed at the hotel, which made it really nice. And then after countdowns, it was dinner, fancy dinner, countdown, and after countdown, all the girls got tipsy, we went back to our rooms, and all the boys went off and smoked cigars. This year, because Hong Kong's actually in the 4th wave of COVID, and it's on a very strict lockdown right now, I'm spending it in Shanghai. And so I'm hosting a countdown party in my house in the former French concession with about 20-25 friends. My invitation says 9 p.m. till next year, and ask that each guest bring a bottle of champagne and their swimsuit, because we are going to turn on the hot tub that's in my garden right over there. And I also just bought a fire pit so that we can all make s'mores. As you can see, I'm bringing a little bit of Western New Year's into China. To me, that's the best kind of New Year's Eve party. In a confined space with friends that you feel grounded with to enter the new year. And stay tuned for that vlog because I'm definitely going to be vlogging it. For Lunar Chinese New Year's Eve, you don't have that one big epic party like you do in the West. What you have are sort of daytime gatherings spread across over 7 days. I mean, the big dinner is 大年夜, which is the eve that's really just family. And my grandma's always asking me if I'm coming back to Hong Kong because I know my cousins, my aunts, my uncles are all going to be around the dinner table for this most important family event of the year. And then the next day, which is sort of day one of the new year, we go around and we go visit elders. They're really kind of like multi-generational family friends. And there'll be days where, you know, my grandma will sort of be at her home and have guests come over. So who wins the parties category? Well, I kind of like the climax that one moment gives you. And since I've now figured out how to spend it and who to spend it with, Western New Year's Eve wins the party section, hands down. Date. The dates are completely different. You're probably wondering, how can the dates be different? It's the same planet. Well, we use two completely different calendars. The Gregorian calendar that was founded in the 1500s by the Romans and is based on the Earth's rotation around the sun. And it actually evolved out of the lunar calendar, which was based on the lunar cycles. So now the Chinese New Year, which is also called Spring Festival, is celebrated on the second moon of the winter solstice and can fall anywhere between late January to mid-February per the Western calendar. The last day of the year is also called Lunar New Year's Eve, which in Chinese we call 大年夜. Translated to English, that means like old, large, huge, major, very important night. As China has globalized, we've officially moved to using the Western calendar in January of 1912. But for old people and birthdays and festivals and feng shui, we always refer to the lunar dates. But you can't talk about dates without mentioning that Western New Year's is one night, whereas Chinese New Year's is 7 days. 1 versus 7. This coming year, 2021, it falls on February the 12th, and it's a 7-day holiday and considered like the most important holiday for Chinese people. But Chinese people don't just take those 7 days off. Very often, they also take the previous 7 days and also the after 7 days, everybody's out of pocket for 2 or 3 weeks. Work shuts down, nothing gets done, which is really inconvenient if you're a company owner like myself. But since it's the most important holiday of the year and really the only time that people really get to spend time with their family, as a boss, you can only be like, okay, basically, you know how Christmas rolls into New Year's for the West? That's Chinese New Year for us in China. So which is better? The date for Chinese New Year or the date for Western New Year? Well, what I do like about Western New Year's is that it's one fixed date. December 31st becomes January 1st. For Chinese, it's moving. So it's always like, oh, when is Chinese New Year this time? And you always have to check. It's just another layer of work. But you're looking at 1 day versus 7 days of celebration. Hands down, 7 days wins. China wins this category. Entertainment. So for entertainment, for Western New Year's, you have New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest, which has celeb guests and musical performances, but it's basically all about the countdown, and all the other channels have their own versions of this program. Here in China, we have something bigger and better than that. The most traditional and important event of this family dinner on Lunar New Year's Eve is to watch the CCTV Spring Festival Gala. There's hilarious sketches, performances, it's a star-studded event. It's basically one big televised party and the must-see TV event of the year in its 38th year running. Today, it's also known as the Spring Festival Gala and has been abbreviated by us Chinese to calling it 春晚. 春 means spring, 晚 means night. So it's broadcast annually on CCTV1, which is our main channel, and you can watch it overseas on CGTN. Fun fact, 春晚 has won the Guinness Book of World Records as the most watched television program in the world. In 2019 alone, it had over 1.2 billion viewers. By the way, remember our population is 1.4 billion. So that's like, I mean, it's crazy. It's 10 times more than the number of people who watch the Super Bowl. 99 million people watched the Super Bowl last year. When Chunwan first aired in 1983, and you have to remember China during the 80s was really poor, a lot of villages only had one TV for everybody to share. Chunwan became a tradition after the opening up of China's economy, and when families come back home to their hometowns and gather their reunions, the only thing that's on TV is Chunwan, and all the local stations are also showing Chunwan. It has become such an important event that social media is buzzing with speculation months before about who will be on it and what will be on it. By the same token, for any actor or singer, being featured on the program is considered the highest accolade in their career. And many Chunwan performers have become household names in China just by appearing on that program over and over again. It begins at 8 p.m. and ends at 1 a.m., so make sure you check it out on CGTN. So, which is better entertainment, Western New Year's or Chinese New Year's? I think it goes without saying that whatever 1.2 billion people are watching at the same time, hands down, wins this category. There you go, China. Dress code. In the West, everybody gets dressed up. And it's a fun holiday. Even if you celebrate family, you get dressed up. You're looking good. You're going out hitting the clubs, you're looking good. There aren't any specific colors people wear, but people do like to wear shiny, glittery gold or silver. The dress code on my invitation for my countdown party this year is red, white, or gold. And guess what? I'm wearing a head-to-toe gold sequin outfit that I'm also wearing tonight for you ahead of time to shoot this video. The goal of the dress code of Western New Year's Eve is that if you're single, you will look good enough for someone to want to kiss you at midnight. And the goal of Chinese New Year is about removing the old and welcoming the new. So wearing red is really the norm on Chinese New Year, and also we'll choose maybe a new outfit to wear on New Year's Day. It's also popular to wear traditional Chinese clothing. So men can wear a tang suit, which was a jacket that was worn by men during the Tang Dynasty, not that long ago, about 100 years ago. It has an upturned collar and straight lapels, and the suit features traditional Chinese knots, which are kind of like frog buttons. The material is usually brocade, which back in those days was a luxury fabric. But sometimes for Chinese New Year, women will wear a qipao, which is what was worn by ladies during the Tang Dynasty. It's a fitted dress with a stiff straight collar and frog buttons. And actually, even in Hong Kong, up through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, a lot of women like my grandma would wear that every day. Check out this qipao I'm wearing here, and qipaos are usually covered with exquisite embroidery of flowers, birds, or phoenix. So for Chinese New Year these days, the older generation will wear traditional Chinese clothing, whereas the younger generation will just wear something red. And who wins this category? Well, my point goes to Western New Year's for glittery outfits, because qipaos are really just very restricting, and I like to eat and move. Food and drink. For Western New Year, there isn't a specific menu. However, families tend to have their traditions and repeat them year after year. The one thing that's consistent though across everywhere in the West is champagne for a countdown. Fun fact, did you know that 360 million glasses of champagne was served across the United States on New Year's Eve? Now in China, specific dishes are prepared to give blessings for the upcoming year. Both the names and appearances of the dish are symbols of prosperity, happiness, and luck. Although dishes might be slightly different from place to place depending on local custom, because China's really big, there are some dishes that everybody serves on Chinese New Year's Eve no matter what. For example, dumplings, those are usually served in the north, and fish, steamed fish, usually served on every single family table. In Chinese, fish, yu, sounds the same as surplus, which is also called yu, different character, just the same pronunciation. The typical blessing is 年年有余. So 年年 means every year, and 余 means surplus or fish, therefore wishing you a surplus of food and money every year. Another important Chinese New Year tradition is drinking wine. Not necessarily champagne, but yes, wine. Why? Because wine, which in Chinese is 酒, sounds like longevity, which is 酒. So during Lunar New Year's Eve dinner, we will have wine and, potentially 白酒, which is a super strong 70% alcohol. By the way, check out my video with the XO Hennessy heir, Killian Hennessy, to see me give him a blind tasting of Chinese 白酒. So who wins F&B category? Well, when you put that much creativity and labor into each dish that has rhyming names and Chinese couplets, which means proverbs, by the way. China wins hands down. Traditions. Although the main star of Western New Year's is New Year's Eve, partying with friends, the next day, New Year's Day, is really about spending time with your family and visiting relatives. I think college football, the Rose Bowl, is also around those few days, so a lot of people just stay in and watch that. But on the first day, January 1st, a common Western tradition is to write down your New Year's resolutions. Did you know that 67% of Americans make New Year's resolutions, but by the end of the year, only 8% have kept them? Which are you? So people usually write down their New Year's resolutions on a piece of paper or in their notebook and stick it up on the wall where they can see it. I'm like that. I write mine on a piece of paper and I stick it on a wall in front of me so I can see it every day. Because a written resolution kind of feels like a contract. So and if it's up in front of you, you're looking every day at it. So it'll help you stay on track. I've been doing that for 20 years now. I used to be really ambitious and have 10 resolutions each time. But now I'm really practical and I only have 2 to 3 resolutions on my list. One of which is always lose 5 pounds. Now, what are my New Year's resolutions? I do feel a little vulnerable telling you. It almost feels like I'm telling you my birthday wish, but I think it'll be good for me to put it out there so I really stick with it. First one is lose 5 pounds, always. Second one is to bring my etiquette training from offline to online here in China. And thirdly is just to spend more time with my dad because he's getting old. So back to traditions. Each year of Chinese New Year celebrates a different animal zodiac. And there are 12 zodiac animals. I'm sure you know yours. And I know how to say this in Chinese because it's like a rhyme that all kids sort of had to learn. 鼠牛虎兔龙蛇马羊猴鸡狗猪. So that's 鼠 is rat, 牛 is ox, 鼠牛 虎 is tiger, 兔 is rabbit, 鼠牛虎兔. 龙 is dragon, 蛇 that's followed by snake, and then followed by 马 horse, 羊 goat, and then 猴 monkey, 鸡 rooster, 狗 dog, and 猪 pig. Pig was the laziest, so it came last in that zodiac race. Thus pig is at the end. The rat was cheeky and jumped on the head of the ox. The ox is the most hardworking, so it was winning the race. And then just before the finish line, boop, the rat jumped off the ox's head and beat it. So it became the first animal of the zodiac. But every 12 years, you will encounter the zodiac animal year that you were born in. And this is called your 本命年. So 本 is kind of like same, 命 it's like life, 年 year. Now when you are in your 本命年, it is believed that you have incurred the curse of 太岁, who is the god of age, and he will unleash his wrath on you. So basically this year brings nothing but bad luck. So guess what? Next year, this upcoming year, 2021, is Year of the Ox. I'm an ox, so that's right, I'm gonna be wearing nothing but red underwear every day. Why? Because that's what we Chinese do to fend off bad luck. But red will drive away bad luck and evil spirits, so if you don't have that much red underwear, you can also wear red socks, red belt, carry a red bag, all sorts of things red, if it is your 本命年. You can also wear jade accessories, which has the same effect as wearing red, or you can sit in the opposite direction of 太岁, the god of age. But that gets a little bit more complicated, and I think that feng shui stuff requires a whole video in itself. Drop me a comment in the comments below if that's something you're interested in. You can also put red paper cuttings of your zodiac or other lucky symbols, words, rhyming couplets on your walls or on your windows or on your door. A popular one is 富, which means prosperity, and sometimes it's put upside down because the Chinese word for upside down, which is 到, 倒过来的倒, also sounds like 到, which is arrival, 到. So if you put a 富 upside down, it's like fortune is arrived, basically. Some of the rhyming couplets you'll see, Usually they're in 3 parts, or they also have at least 4 words. For example, 大吉大利, which means 大 is big, so big luck, big money. Or it'll be 出入平安, usually that's written on the door. 出入 means enter, exit. 平安 means peace. And in fact, on my little doorstep over here in my house in Shanghai, I have the words 平安 on it. And it faces out. So apart from red underwear and red paper cuttings, the most important tradition of Chinese New Year are red packets or red envelopes, or in Chinese we'll call them 红包. Hong means red, bao means packets. This really is a tradition where married people or senior people or bosses will give red packets with cold hard cash to unmarried people, kids, or their staff, or their juniors. And so generally speaking, on Chinese New Year's, if a young unmarried person sees an older senior person or sees their boss, they'll say they will 拜年, which means they'll send them, sort of good greetings for Chinese New Year. So for example, 新年快乐, right? That means Happy New Year. In Cantonese, I'm from Hong Kong, we speak Cantonese, 新年快樂 means 新年快樂. Things like, 恭喜發財, 利是到來, or, 龍馬精神, which means, may you be as bright and alert as a horse or a dragon. That's a phrase for elderly gentlemen. 青春常駐 in Cantonese is what you would say for a lady who's older so that she'll always be forever beautiful and young looking. But the money in red envelopes is known as 压岁钱, which literally means money that anchors the years. And I love it. When I was younger, I used to count all my money from my red packets, and you'd get up to easily $1,000 or $2,000 US worth of lucky packets when you're like 6 or 7 years old. And now the great thing about China is because it's so digitally advanced, and obviously people are spread all over the country. It's a big, big, big country. WeChat, the app that Trump is trying to ban, and if you haven't watched my video, make sure to watch my video on Trump's trying to ban WeChat. What is WeChat? And so WeChat has actually come up with an ingenious thing, which is electronic red packets. And so I can send you, if you have WeChat, money that's like a red packet, and I can even type in a greeting thing, and ping, it's over there, and you open it up, and it automatically adds to your bank account balance. So, which tradition wins? Listen guys, I'm trying to be impartial here, and I'm really devoted to writing New Year's resolutions, but I'm a sucker for red packets. And who can say no to free money? So Chinese New Year wins this tradition hands down. All right guys, so those are the main differences. Let's see who won this showdown. For date, China won that one because 7 holidays is better than 1. Parties, point goes to Western New Year's for that super climactic countdown. For entertainment, China wins that one because their TV show has 1.2 billion viewers in one night. For dress code, Western New Year wins out with glittery over constricting. Food and bev, China wins that one for its innovative cuisine that also brings good luck. And last but not least, traditions, China wins that one for red packets, money, 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 money talks, and feng shui. So in the end, Chinese New Year beats Western New Year 4-2. Sorry guys. All right guys, happy 2021 and happy Chinese New Year. It's coming up in a few weeks, February 12th. Let me know how you're spending New Year's Eve. What's your favorite part of it? What's your least favorite part of it? And more importantly, tell me what would you like to see me make a video on next? Chinese food? Chinese feng shui? Lucky red underwear? I'm gonna be vlogging my New Year's party, so stay tuned for that. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be posting a new video each week who have tips and tricks that I think will help all of us lead a better life.